from the 3rd District. I'd like to welcome Dr. Michelle Davis, who's now officially on the commission as well. And if we can just go around the table and introduce ourselves, and we'll start with John.
John Delano, representing 5th District.
Edward Kramer, representing the 7th District.
Michelle Davis, 1st District. No.
Adam Phillips, staff.
Tom Boswick, also staff.
Rui Lavoie, Director of Elections for Baltimore County.
Thank you for coming, and we have 2 of our members online, Mr. Cordell Grant and Mr. Al Harris. Gentlemen, do either of you want to say anything as we start?
Oh, just glad to be here, that's all.
Apparently not. Okay.
Well, hi, my name is Cordell Grant. I represent the
Okay.
district. I apologize. Can you hear me?
We can't hear you, Cordell.
Can't hear me? What about now?
You're unmuted, but we don't have any sound, Cordell.
Okay. Are you able to hear me now? No.
There's nothing on my end. If you want to, once you hear him speak, call in. If he doesn't have a mic on whatever device he's with, you can call in by phone.
If
Know what phone number he's calling in.
you might want to check your settings, your audio settings, if you can. If not, you could mute yourself and dial in, and that might get you sound.
Can you hear me now? Okay, I will dial in. I'm gonna call in.
Okay. I don't know how he would do that, though, because we can't.
You can go and chat. Yeah.
Okay. If you want to go into the chat, you could, in the private chat, you can let Chris know what number you will be calling in so she can know to elevate you.
Okay.
And you can stay on as you are for video.
Okay.
Right.
Ask Alan if he can.
See if Al
Yeah. Yeah. Al, why don't we try your audio? Say,
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Mr. Harris, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
he's indicating he can
Can
hear
you
us.
say something to see if we can hear you?
Yes. Can you hear me now? There's audio coming through. See, I can hear Cordell and I can hear the board. How about you? Can you hear me?
We can hear you now, Al, as the commercial says.
All right. Thank you.
Cordell, why don't you try again? Yeah.
Tell him to try it again.
Yeah.
Cordell.
Cordell,
Try your speaker again, Cordell.
try again, Cordell.
from a phone number?
Yeah.
What's she calling it?
Don't dial in, just try again.
Cordell, the glitch was apparently on our end. If you try again, the audio on the computer, it may work this time.
Can you hear us, Cordell?
Yeah.
Tell him to unmute himself.
Can you unmute yourself and try talking again?
He's muted.
I think you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yay, all right.
All right.
Thank you. I'm sorry about the delay. I didn't think that was going to be an issue at all. Cordell Grant, I represent the 4th District. Nice to meet you.
Sorry about that. It was from our end.
Okay, that being said, if that's the biggest hurdle of the night, I think we're ahead of the game. First matter of business is approval of the minutes from our February 26th meeting.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as a.
Okay,
A second.
thank you, Al. We've got a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the minutes pass as presented.
Chairman Rockel, can I jump in really quick?
Sure.
Hi, I'm so sorry. This is Lisa Del Castro representing the 2nd District. I want to apologize to everyone for calling in. I was stuck at work this evening. I should be on the WebEx in the next 10 minutes or so, but just wanted to let you all know that I'm here. Thank you.
We're glad you're here, Lisa. Thank you. All right, the first matter of business after the minutes approval is discussion of the redistricting app and the temporary mapping app that the county staff provided to the commission members. Anyone have any responses or reactions after using that temporary app?
I'll just say thanks for the update on the app that we're going to be getting for the update on that contract. But yeah, the app has pretty good information. I've been playing with it. I'm not real computer savvy with GIS, but I was able to facilitate and move my way through it.
Anyone else have thoughts?
Yeah, Lisa Del Castro, 2nd District. Wanted to thank the staff for pulling that temporary app together. I agree that the information is really helpful and lays a foundation for the final tool. But do want to say also that I think it's not a replacement for the final tool and would still like ample time once that final tool is presented to us before we move forward with presenting any draft maps. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Maybe if we can get an update from Rob Livermore about where the contract stands with the vendor.
How are you? Contract was officially signed this afternoon. The PO was hand delivered to the county administrative officer and delivered to the vendor. And we are now in the process of scheduling out the installation and training and configuration of the tool set.
Great. While you're still here at the table, I have one little nerdy question that I'll ask of you. In the temporary app, in the demographics map layer, there was an icon called Swipe, S-W-I-P-E.
Okay.
And I couldn't figure what it did. When you'd click on that icon, it created a line running through the map and you could move the line, but I'm trying to understand to what purpose is.
The swipe tool that generates that line allows you, if you have, say, different data sets that you wanted to compare, where you could see what it looks like in this year versus a different year.
Oh, okay.
So you could bring up 2 different years worth of data or 2 different data sets and slide it and see different.
And see the change between the 2 days. That's okay. Thank you.
Rob, I have a question. When would you be available for additional training?
In the tool set that's online now,
Yes.
anytime if you want to call call us at our GIS office. Our number is 410-887-2233.
887-222?
Yes, sir. And then we can have our email address sent out to you. We have a general GIS@BaltimoreCountyMD.gov email account, and our staff is ready to help at any time.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
So my question was going to be a little bit similar. If there is availability of support while we're working through kind of playing with this tool, but also the 2 weeks that I heard you mention last week that the actual will be available, does that date start from the date of today with the signing of the contract, or?
Yes, from the signing of the contract.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions of Mr. Livermore? Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, sir.
Next on the agenda is a presentation by the Director of the Baltimore County Board of Elections. Thank you for coming, Ms. Lavoie, and the floor is yours.
So I'm Ruby. I've been in elections for about 15 years. I was the administrator here in Baltimore County under the previous director, Katie Brown, for over 8 years. Promoted to Cecil County as director for 2 years. Promoted again back home to Baltimore County at the end of 2021. I've been the director through 4 election cycles. We did redistricting in 2022 when I first started to be the director in Baltimore County. So I am familiar with the process and working with Director Livermore and his team. And we actually in 22, I don't know if you remember, but there was a lawsuit. So we had to put on hold moving the council lines, and we had 3 weeks to do about a 4 to 6 month job before the 22 primary. So we looked at 700,000 addresses almost manually in 3.5 weeks. So we're excited for you all to come up with the map so we can start in October, November, and get it done before 2026. So I put together a presentation for you. I wanted just to do a little bit of an introduction about the Board of Elections and redistricting. I want to make sure everyone understands that we are completely nonpartisan, and my only objective is to make sure that the voters in Baltimore County are able to vote privately, independently, have access to registering to vote, and that the democratic process is conducted accurately, efficiently, and in the best interest of our voters. So my presence or part in this is just to help answer questions and explain insofar as like ballot styles and precincts and things like that. So the Board of Elections, our main job, is to guarantee that every eligible citizen in Baltimore County is given that opportunity to register and vote to ensure the democratic process. We conduct all federal, state, and local elections in Baltimore County, and we're responsible for maintaining the voter records for all elections and all voters. Part of the responsibility includes the process of revising the county's election plan after new congressional, legislative, or councilmatic boundaries are established by the General Assembly or the County Council. The process is completed in layers, and it takes between 4 and 6 months. So as the director of Baltimore County, I make recommendations to our 5-member board. We have a 5-member board on the revisions to the county polling places, early voting centers, and our ballot box locations. Together, these maps and locations make up our county's election plan. In all actions taken by the Board of Elections, we try to limit voter confusion, maximize the best possible voter education, because it's paramount and our top priority. Every person that lives in each person who lives in the precinct votes the same ballot. And the way that happens is a precinct is established by combining the contiguous census blocks that are all in the same congressional, legislative, and councilmatic. And then we have to remember the election district. So the congressional, the legislative, and the councilmatic districts, they can change, but the election districts, they stay the same. They were established in the 1800s. They don't ever change. So when the other 3 lines come together, the 4 lines make that precinct. So a precinct isn't a building, a precinct is an area. A polling place is the actual building. Sometimes the polling place, a school, a firehouse, or whatever, falls within the precinct. Sometimes there is not a community building within those precinct lines, so we find the closest community building to that precinct. There is a ballot style for every precinct. So in Baltimore County, we have 243 polling places, so we have in a general election, we have 243 ballot styles. In a primary election, we have a lot more because we have Democratic, 243 Democratic, 243 Republican, and then we have unaffiliated ballot styles. The reason that we have ballot styles, so many ballot styles, one for every polling place, is so we can provide precinct level results for the at the end of the election. So the polling place is the voting location where the voters cast their ballot. Of course, it's always preferred for the polling place to be within the precinct boundaries, but as I explained, sometimes that's not possible. The precinct boundaries lines must follow the congressional, legislative, councilmatic, and election lines. Communities can sometimes be split between multiple precincts. We have instances where neighbors vote in different districts, and it's just because that's where the lines fell. So neighbors voting in different, for different legislators does occur, and then, and it also occurs when the streets are split. There are instances when a voter will not necessarily vote in the polling place that's the closest to their house, depending on where they live in that precinct and where the polling place was established. They might pass a polling place and vote at another polling place. So everyone that votes at that polling place would vote for the same congressional district, legislative district, and council district. In designating the polling places, early voting centers, and ballot box locations, the county board must follow all federal, state, and local laws, as well as Maryland regulations. And in your packets, I gave you 2 references, excuse me, for Maryland law, Title 10, and Maryland Code Law Regulations 33. So when establishing these locations, there's a lot of things that come into play and must be considered. So we consider voter turnout, population density, disenfranchised communities, minority population, ADA accessibility, size and availability of the building, public transportation that's close to the building, security, the power, electrical outlets, things like that, and other miscellaneous factors are taken into account when we establish polling places. After the County Board of Elections approves the county's election plan, it's then submitted to the State Board of Elections. We send a voter notification card to all registered voters, and that card provides information for the congressional, legislative, and councilmatic districts, as well as information on their precinct and their polling place. The information on polling places and where voters can go to vote for early voting. All of that is also provided on sample ballots that we mail to all voters prior to the election. So after the 22 redistricting, we mailed all 700,000 voters voter notification cards, and we'll do the same thing after this redistricting, so that even if the voter is voting in the same polling place they've always voted in, they know, yes, that's where I need to go on election day to cast my ballot. So the increase in the councilmatic districts from 7 to 9 will require changes to many of the current voting precincts. In Baltimore County, there's over 13,000 street splits, and which is inclusive of hundreds of thousands of addresses with more than 604,000 registered voters. During the precinct revision and election planning process, we have to not only review each voter's address, but we review all county addresses. Excuse me. And that's because if a voter moves into an address that no previous voter has lived in, they already have an established congressional, legislative, councilmatic district and precinct.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
So the split streets are those where, I'm sorry.
No worries.
So my question is, the split streets that I just heard you mention, I'm reading, those are the streets where this neighbor may vote here and that neighbor may vote on?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So maybe half of York Road votes in one district, and I'm not saying that's the case, but that's an example. The other half might vote in another district.
Just to give you a little bit of sense why, when the census creates their blocks, typically they use streets. So it's kind of a hazard of using the blocks that naturally it divides one half of the street from the other. When they do become larger roads with divisions, you know, like a divider in the middle, or I think up to 4 lanes, and definitely all highways, the highway itself is a census block. It just, no one lives there. That way you can, you know, safely make sure that, you know, everyone on one side of the highway and everyone on the other side of the highway are, you know, have their own blocks. Okay.
So attached to the packet that you have are different maps that I thought you'd be interested in seeing. These were maps that I used to show voters in my board where our polling places are, the different councilmatic districts. So the one map shows the current 7 councilmatic districts. The next map shows the ballot box locations that we had in 2024. I'm sorry, the one with the councilmatic district shows all 243 precincts where they currently were in 2024. Those are in red, right? Yes. Mm-hmm. Then the next map shows the ballot box drop locations that we had in 2024. And just because that's where they were in 24 doesn't necessarily mean that's where I'm going to recommend or where they will be in 26. What I do is I look at a lot of numbers, how many voters used the ballot box, things like that, the safety, the security of the box. Is there a better location that's within a short distance of a box that we should put it in? But I just thought that would be useful. I've also given you maps for early voting, the early voting centers and the voter turnout that we saw in 2024. When I'm establishing early voting, Maryland regulations require me to consider minority population and disenfranchised population. And then they also require me to have an early voting site within at least within 85% of our voters within a 5-mile radius of the early voting site. And Baltimore County is always 90% or higher to that end. I also have to consider the median household income. And when I'm establishing sites, And then we consider the voter turnout. So I also provided maps that were from 2024. And just keep in mind that it's 2025 now, so there are changes in some of that data. And then the last map just shows the voter density that occurred. Sometimes on the maps, though, you might see the voter density is a lot less, but sometimes it's just because less people live in that area. For example, northern Baltimore County, there's the houses are further apart, so it might look like not as many people vote in that area, but that's not necessarily the case. It's just that it's just a bigger area with less people than, say, western Baltimore County.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Sure.
So you've got a series of maps that have kind of the teal and blue tint to them that are about voter turnout. So is that voter turnout for the 2024 election?
So which one are you looking at? The one from, yes, that was from 2022. So
okay.
These were the maps that I established the locations for 2024. So I am still developing, and I just talked to Director Livermore tonight about for 2026. So I'm not quite finished with 24 yet. So I'm still developing the numbers for 24. And then once I have those maps, Adam, I will share with this committee, absolutely. So you can see the turnout from 24, because it was different. We had a higher turnout.
So I just want to make sure I understand what this is telling us.
Okay.
So it's all relative to an average. So I'm guessing that means the voter turnout average across the whole county, or is it the average turnout?
Our county.
Yeah.
So it is across our county, yes.
So the tan are where that precinct, experienced above average. But then the kind of darker section, so is it, when it's saying below average for, say, 4 elections, does that mean it's below average based on the average from 4 elections, or is it?
So they do it several ways. So every other year we have an election. Every 4 years is presidential, every 4 years is gubernatorial. The turnout is different. So this is based on the average between 20 and 22. 20 was an unusual year. So sometimes I don't like using the numbers from 20 because of COVID, and the primary was all by mail. So they take the primary turnout, the general turnout. They take whether it's we consider whether it was a presidential or a gubernatorial. Presidential sometimes historically has a higher turnout. So that's how they get all the averages. They take the last several elections, and then they base them on whether it was a primary or a general. And then they come up with the numbers.
Okay.
So they take a lot of data, it's not just it's not just the previous year. And then they also do the average by the number of voters that are assigned to that precinct. We have some precincts that are in, the precinct is very small, so maybe there's only 1,000 voters that are assigned to vote there, and they only have a turnout of 200 people. And you can't really say that's below average just because 200 people voted at that precinct, but then you have Bumi Temple, that's huge, and might have a turnout of 2,000 or 3,000 voters. So we don't compare it like that. We do the overall and then use those numbers across the board. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay.
But you did say that you were not finished with 24, right?
I'm sorry, Mr. Harris, say that again.
You did say that you weren't finished with the 24 turnout.
No, well, I have the numbers for the turnout, but I'm not there yet to start planning for 26. I need another month.
Oh, okay, so you need another month just to plan for 26, but we're trying, personally, myself, I'm trying to figure out exactly how was the turnout in 24.
So I can provide that information to Adam. The turnout in Baltimore County it was about the same as the last presidential election. The percentage-wise was the same. The way people voted in 24 was very different from the way they voted in 16 and in 20. And again, 20 was the pandemic, so that was a little bit different. But I have the actual turnout numbers, and I'm more than happy to share that with you. But as far as having them by precinct on a map and all that, I don't have that yet.
All right.
But I can give you the actual turnout numbers. I'll send it to Adam. And the percentage. Do you want it by precinct or countywide?
I would prefer precinct.
Or by district?
Yeah.
I can, maybe by district would help too.
All right.
Okay. Yes, sir. I'll make that happen.
Hi, this is Cordell, District 4. I wanted to sort of elaborate on Mr. Harris's question or statement, if you will, or your statement. Would you be able to give us those turnouts for the districts, the precincts, and the county? Like, let's just have all of the data.
One more time, Melissa.
He didn't, I don't think he heard you say that. You would.
Also, oh, that's it for now. I just wanted to ensure to see if we can just get for each of those different jurisdictions.
Yes. So I'll provide turnout by district. I'm gonna try by precinct. Countywide, I already know that. I already have that. It just won't be on a map. It'll be just the percentages and the numbers.
That's fine. And also, I wanted to follow up on something you said about just the trends of, I guess, the differences. Does that matter? And do you think, in your opinion, is that necessary and a necessary factor in considering districting this map or redistricting this map? And if so, do you have a summary and or some sort of synopsis of sort of why those trends changed? What was the differences of why people voted or the demographic of why they voted that way? Is there any sort of write-up or surrounding that as well?
So, well, I can answer that question, part of that question right now. I think that by mail voting, no one ever thought about doing it until 2020, and a lot of voters enjoyed it in 2020, and then it became regulation and law, and now there are more voting options than there have ever been because of new regulation and new law over the last 4 and 5 years. So I think that's why the trend has changed. We used to have between 2,000 and 5,000 by absentee ballots. We have between 100 and 200,000 now. So we still have a very strong turnout for Election Day, but people seem to also enjoy early voting. The early voting turnout has increased every election cycle since it began in 2010. And I think that Maryland offers every possible way there is to vote. Maryland offers it, and I just believe that the voters in Baltimore County are equally enjoying all of the options because we've trended up in all of them. Does that help answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
And then your other question, when you were asking about the polling places and the different factors that we consider for when we're setting polling places and things, I don't think that you necessarily need to consider that, but mitigating voter confusion is always the best thing. And when you're redistricting or making the decisions like that, I think just, the more we're able to continue to use the polling places that we've been using for many, many 20-some years, then I just think the better it'll be for the voters. Even if their district changes, they still go to the same location. And that's what I try to do. When you guys give me the lines, we try to move, the lines move, the places stay the same, but we try to keep the voters where they've been voting in it. But if there have been instances when we've had to move them, and we make sure they get an additional letter besides just the voter card, we also send them a letter and say, due to redistricting, your polling places, please note you have a new polling place.
And I'm sorry, one more question, and then we can continue on outside. I'm going to take up too much time. So, like, say, for instance, a district or a precinct was moved, and say, for instance, it was moved from their traditional space. It's been there for over 30, 40 years, and then it's now, let's say, somewhere they've never been and had no idea and never received a notice. So what has been the way to sort of remedy that situation so individuals have been able or notified that this is a change in polling location, this is change in district, or some have maybe been even reinstated to vote again, etc.?
So, and that has happened. We actually had an emergency polling place relocation in the 24 general, and we didn't know it until a week before the election. So I make sure there's plenty of signage up at all of the polling places. In 2022, I had to move a polling place on election day, and I had people standing outside. So when people drove up, we let them know where to go, like a half a block down the street to vote. So I'm very transparent, and I'm very aggressive when it comes to notifying voters several times, not just once. They get a special mailing. We send email blasts. They get their sample ballot, things like that. And then we put signage at the old location and at the new location. I have extra staff at the polling places when they do change with lists, with the street lists. So when the voter comes, they can, before they wait in line, they can say, is this where I vote? Things like that. So we are very aware that people get frustrated if they go to one place and that's not where they're supposed to vote. And they get frustrated and they might not necessarily go to that second place. So we try to avoid that or make it as convenient as possible.
Thank you for answering those questions.
You're welcome.
I had one clarification and one question. I think you said while they should be close to each other, the voting location does not have to be in the precinct?
That's correct. And actually, I don't know the number. A lot of our polling places are not in the precinct boundary. So, and it's because there's no school in that, or no public play, not a church or a building that fits the requirements for a polling place in those lines. So I find the closest one, excuse me, or, so there's quite a few actually that have never been in the precinct, especially northern Baltimore County. There's a lot of land and there's a lot of precincts, but there's not a lot of buildings. So, but we do mile it, and we try to get the one that, find a building that is the closest for everyone that lives in that precinct, for all of the voters.
Okay. And
that happens quite often, actually.
And I think in an earlier conversation, I think we might have talked about situations where two precincts actually share a location.
Yes.
Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So we have 243 polling places, precincts, but we have 210 buildings that are polling places. So we have, if the school has a gym and a cafeteria and there's no other building, or that is the best building to host elections, because there are a lot of requirements for hosting elections, we'll use both the gym and the cafeteria, the multi-purpose room and the cafeteria. So that's called a combined precinct. That's when it's one building, but it's two different rooms. They have different ballot styles. And to go with Mr. Cordell's comment about the confusion, we have a greeter out front that directs the voter which room to go in when that's needed. We also have consolidated polling places, and that gets a little bit confusing. And I try not to do this, but there's some instances where there is no other building or room but one room or one building, and it's a consolidated precinct where it's two different legislative, congressional, and council. The ballots are different, or the ballots could be exactly the same. They could have all the same contests, but different ballot styles, because a style for every precinct, but they vote in the same room. And when that happens, when the voters check in on the voter authority card, it says what precinct they're in, so that the votes are still, the results are still tabulated separately by the precinct. So there's 3 different types of polling places. That was a great question, Adam. Combined, consolidated, and then a single polling place. And people thought elections was easy, simple.
You said combined, consolidated.
And then just a regular single polling place, yes. We try not to do the consolidated. It does get very confusing because then you're depending on the poll worker, the election judge, to give the ballot style, for, the correct ballot style. So I try not to do that.
I do have one additional question, but I don't want to monopolize the time. I want to make sure the commission members ask their questions first.
Do we have any more questions from the commission members? Go ahead, Adam.
Besides the geographic requirement of, being in the election district, the congressional, legislative, and council district, besides those, 4, is there any other state criteria on precincts, or state or local criteria on precincts?
So there is, and I mentioned something, it has to be ADA accessible. There has to be, excuse me. So every precinct, I know how many voters are assigned, or that's their home precinct. So depending on the number of voters, then I have to guarantee that there's enough parking spaces. I have to make sure the room is ADA compatible. Then I have to figure out the number of equipment that's going to go in that room, and is there enough power outlets, because all of the equipment needs electricity. Then I have to determine, is there enough room for voters that need to sit down, how big the rooms are, things like that. So a lot of those requirements, or most of them, are in regulation, and I have, we survey the different buildings, and then some of them are extra added that we do in Baltimore County to try to assist our voters. But yes, so it's the same thing with early voting sites. I have to determine the amount of voters that I believe is going to vote every hour, and make sure that I have enough voter parking. The ADA parking needs to be within 100 yards of the entrance of the early voting center. For early voting, you don't want steps or anything. Elevators aren't preferred. So like all of those things have to be considered. And some of them are, like I said, some of them are regulation. The law doesn't really outline all that. It's all outlined in regulation.
So that brings me to a question, because the factors that you just discussed, I noticed that you had a category for other miscellaneous. How were those defined? Is it defined based on each election and things that are learned, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Partly, yes.
Okay.
So that's a great question, and I can give you an example. A couple years ago, when the state went to a paper-based voting system, we implemented it in 2016. At that time, we only had a certain number of the ballot marking devices at one at every polling place. And after 2016, I was the administrator in Baltimore County. We decided that some locations needed more than one for lots of reasons. Maybe it's a larger location, or maybe they had more, and please, nobody take this offense, more elderly people that prefer not to have to do a ballot. They would rather do that. So those types of factors I take into consideration. I send more ballot marking devices to larger precincts or precincts that in the past I've noticed they have more voters that want to use them. So I pay attention to lines that we see, and we do a lot of lessons learned, and we go through, and it's the same thing with scanners. I've sent more scanners out the following election when I noticed that the holdup at a certain polling place wasn't at check-in or at the voting booth, but the holdup was at the scanner. So all of the, and then depending on the equipment that I'm going to deploy is how big of a room we need. So sometimes we might need to change from the cafeteria to the gym or whatever because we're sending more equipment, depending on the polling place.
I just want to add that being an election judge myself, the county does a great job at providing services to our constituents to make sure that there's no real problem with casting your ballot on election day.
Thank you, Mr. Ayers.
So, redistricting has kind of evolved a little bit over time, and particularly the map drawing and technology has helped. But, and we historically, at least, we tried not to split precincts, tried to keep them whole and redistrict based at the precinct level. Part of that was we were under the impression that it frankly made the Board of Elections job easier by not splitting precincts. But at the same time, as the needs have evolved, some of the, including the legal requirements, the practical requirements of trying to keep communities together, but also meet the charter mandated requirements. I think last time we did split precincts, we ended up redistricting at the census block or census tract level block. Can you talk about how that does impact you? Is it still preferred to do precincts, or, with the advent of technology, does it matter? Or, can you talk about that? Because I think it's important for the commission members to know in their redistricting and map drawing what the impacts are.
So thank you. That's an excellent question. So I think the difference, the thing to remember is a precinct is an area made up by those 4 lines, not the polling place. The polling place is the building, right? So if you split a precinct, it does create a little bit of voter confusion, but it usually takes one election cycle to get them used to who they're going to vote for this time. Or where. So splitting a precinct isn't necessarily splitting a building. So no, it does not make our job easier. I believe that if you're going to move the lines, it doesn't really, I don't understand. Like, it doesn't really make a difference, because if the lines are going to move, it doesn't matter if they get split in half or move or get bigger or move to the right or to the left. It doesn't matter. And I think the reason that that was thought before was a precinct and a polling place was thought to be the same thing, and it's not. So that's why I was sure, that's why I keep saying it's not the same thing. And just because this precinct is here doesn't mean that we're going to be able to find a building in that area. So I don't think it's going to change what we have to do or what GIS has to do or anything. The only thing that it could possibly change if you split a precinct is we would have more. Like we have more now than we had prior to 22. We used to have 236, now we have 243, which costs more money because it means more ballot styles. So if you split a precinct and make one into two, then it means more equipment, more election judges, you know, more everything. If you, the fewer polling places, then obviously it's the less. And I know you're not supposed to look at it like money, but that's the answer. It would be more polling places.
So if you,
Or precincts.
right, so if the commission in doing its work and even the council ultimately, if they decided, okay, you know, in order to get where we need to go, we need to, and again, just throwing this out there, and, you know, illustrative only, you know, precinct 10 dash, this is how bad my eyes are. I have glasses on and I need this. Precinct 10-002 in District 3 now. If for whatever reason it was decided, well, that needs to be split in order to, you know, create, or maybe use another example of one that's closer to a border, like 9-024. You know, that's right between 3 and 5. So if there was a decision that, well, in order to get where we need to go, we need to, and of course the precinct is made up of all these census blocks. And so if we decided, well, we need to redistrict at the census block level because of population and whatnot, so we're going to need to take some census blocks out of that 3, you know, out of District 3 and put them in District 5. It's going to be much more complicated because we're dealing with 9 instead of 7, but just for illustrative purposes. So doing that, you know, taking, I don't know, 4 census blocks out of that precinct, let's say it's made up of 10 or 12, taking 4 of them out of there and moving it into 5 to balance population or whatnot, that doesn't really have too much of a negative impact on what you all need to do when you do all this stuff.
No, and the reason why I say no is what we're going to do is once you give me the lines, we're going to start with election district 1, right? We have 15 districts. We're going to start with 1 and we're going to go around. And if we need to make 924, 924, 925, that's what we're going to do. There were some instances in 22 in District 5 and 6 where they had more precincts. Now they have less. We were able to combine those precincts because of the way the lines move. So either way, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go block by block, line by line, all the way around the county, and then we'll just number it like that. So if 924 needed to be 925 or 926, that's what it would be. And that goes for all 15 of them, all 15 of the districts.
Okay.
So we have to look at it anyway, it has to, do you see what I mean?
Yeah, and I guess my point, the only reason I bring it up, trying not to complicate things, but I think it's important for you all to know that it's like precincts are not kind of a sacred cow that maybe they once were before the advent of, you know, the technological abilities to really get down to the minute level. There was a time when it was like, boy, don't split a precinct because that's going to just cause all kinds of difficulties in terms of drawing the map and then Board of Elections doing what it does. But that's not really a problem anymore.
No. Well, okay. I mean, it's work, but no, it's not like it used to be. And thanks to GIS and others, it's easier. And like I said, either way, we're going to go through all 15 districts. And
got to do it anyway.
Yeah, if we have to add or remove, we went from 236 to 243.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry to monopolize the time. Thank you.
Yeah. I have one more hypothetical question. Let's say you have 3 precincts that were previously in one council district and they're moved to a new council district. Is it conceivable that those 3 precincts would still vote at the same polling place, but with the separate
So I wouldn't be able to answer that even hypothetically because it would depend on which way the line went. and where all four connected. So I don't know. They would still have the same congressional and legislative district. But I wouldn't be able to answer that about whether they'd vote in the same place or not.
Okay.
But that's always what we try to do. We do try to, where possible, keep people voting where they're used to going.
Okay. Thank you.
So looking at a map for 2022, I'm looking at these blue lines there. Are all these blue line major highways?
Yes. That fooled me the first time too, Mr. Harris. I was like, wait, what are these lines? But yes, they're the highways.
Okay, all right.
That's the map that was established after the 22 redistricting.
All right.
And if anyone on the commission or anyone thinks of a question or I can help with anything, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help wherever I can. After the meeting, if you think of something or whatever.
And just so everyone, including the commission members online, know, I'm going to be sending out the digital versions of all the maps that we've been going through. I'll send them out tomorrow morning. And for members of the public, if it's a little difficult to see some of these maps with precinct lines or council district lines, election district lines, those are actually publicly available on the county's My Neighborhood app.
Yeah.
So it's not like we'd have to produce something special for the public. Those are already in our, the county's general mapping website.
Okay. Any final questions for Ms. Lavoie? We thank you. It's been very helpful. Okay, I think the next matter of business that we have is to come up with some schedule for April meeting dates.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to, I meant to mention it before Ms. Lavoie's presentation, but I figured this might be a good time. So I did speak with Mr. Livermore right before the meeting, and as he indicated, the contract's been delivered, the funds have been encumbered. I think we're ready to blast off. It is probably going to take a few more days, probably into next week, for them, ESRI, to install the platform. It's probably likely that the actual training and that us actually really getting to this will probably not happen until the week of March 17th, which is that Monday. We have a meeting, as you know, on March 19th. We think that might be a good time to try to schedule some training, perhaps that Wednesday, Wednesday's the meeting day, right?
Yeah, Monday.
Perhaps Tuesday the 18th and Wednesday the 19th. If that works with anyone, particularly during the day, unfortunately, but if anyone has flexibility those days, that Tuesday the 18th, Wednesday the 19th, we could probably start doing onboarding and training those days. That's not to say we can't do anything else, but that's going to be probably our best time to start. So I just wanted to throw that out there to the commission. Thank you.
And to assist you guys in actually, scheduling everything, I created just a calendar with March and April. It's got all of the March dates that we've already set. It also has dates that, where the council chambers are taken up by council business so that we couldn't meet. And it also has the tentative public hearing that I think the commission said they were hopefully going to address at this meeting. So I'll pass that out.
Thanks, Adam.
And then if I may, just to follow up, there was discussion at the last meeting about the public hearing scheduled for April the 2nd at the Perry Hall Library. Given and I think the discussion, I think Ms. Belcastro even mentioned, potentially moving that date because there's just not really potentially enough time to map and, get a map or maps ready for the public hearing on the 2nd. So we also have a potential hearing date for the Randallstown Community Center on Monday, March 14th. So that might be a better date to have the first hearing because of, I'm sorry, April. Yeah, I'm talking, I said March, my goodness. April 14th, that might be, given our mapping, our platform schedule, might be the better day to have the first public hearing in order to give everyone enough time to do some mapping discussion and then be ready for that first public hearing where the public will be able to hopefully weigh in on a map or maps. So obviously it's your decisions, but just throwing out suggestions.
If I could jump in, one thing that I'd like to open to discussion is how long the commission feels like they need once we've received the training. How long do we physically feel like we need time to work on the maps ourselves? Personally, I think I would like somewhere between, the sweet spot for me would probably be 3 weeks, but the least I'd be comfortable with are 2 weeks in order to take into account everything that's been sent to us. And again, pull together draft maps that are informed by the community and the feedback that we've received. But would love to hear from the commission on your thoughts on how long you think you would personally need to do that work and do it well.
Lisa, actually, I agree with you. I think 3 weeks, to me, I think 3 weeks would probably be the minimum, just in case there's any issues or anything like that that we need answers on. So I agree, at least 3 weeks before we start having any tentative public hearings.
Do Mr. Harris or Mr. Grant want to weigh in on that issue?
Hi, Cordell Grant, 4th District. I think between 2 and 3 weeks as a minimum is fine. In terms of the training, if, I know we spoke with staff and, obviously we all want to get a great grasp on it, but once the training comes into place, I think that'll give us a better determination. I don't know if, because if we go into it and it's a lot simpler in terms of mapping or using the data or the software. So to your point, without sounding long-winded, 2 weeks is minimum for me. And I think from there we can sort of, because we still have a deadline in June. So I'm being cognizant of that. I'm not trying to rush anything, but also trying to stay on the same time.
Personally, I guess I go with the 3 weeks because I think about all that's entailed. You're going to be listening to your colleagues. You're going to be listening to people from that are not on the commission. You're going to be hearing quite a lot, and I think the 3 weeks is minimum for what needs to be done, and to do it in order, you know. So I got to agree with Ms. Castro, Del Castro. The 3 weeks is fine with me.
Ms. Davis, you have any feelings?
I think, excuse me, the first thing before I speak to that, I just want to understand the intent, the true intent of the public meeting. And so maybe, Adam, you can help me to better understand what the expectation is in terms of presentation and then receiving feedback. Yes, did I say public hearing? I'm sorry, yeah.
So I guess the way I had kind of conceptualized, first of all, the last redistricting commission happened during COVID. So we had a really bad example during COVID of exactly what the expectations would be, because everything was virtual at that point. And, you know, it wasn't, you know, it's just not very comparable to what we have the ability to do today. So the next best example that I had in sort of a concept of a series of public hearings was the work group, that the council expansion work group. And the way we did that one was a general, you know, people have some opinions, let's like get a general feedback public hearing at first. The work group kind of delved into their work, into the meat of the issue, came up with a draft set of recommendations, and then had 2 public hearings in communities, one on the east side, one on the west side, to get feedback on it. That's kind of that's pretty much the concept that we had been working towards. But I think Ms. Belcastro actually mentioned, Lisa Belcastro, said that in a previous meeting, you know, she was hesitant to do in-community meetings prior, you know, without a draft, because the draft affects everybody. And that's a really fair point. In terms of what to expect from the public, I mean, you really do want to be hearing from the people who live in these districts. You know, it's up to the commission whether you guys want to try and break things down, you know, by sections of the county, and try and, you know, elicit responses from people in, you know, say one half or the other, or just say, look, it's a map, it's the whole county. We can, you know, we're going to get feedback on the whole county. It's kind of something that you guys have to really decide. It's a good question of, you know, the model that we had been working towards, you know, on the staff level, so.
And that might drive some of your decision-making on where to have the hearings, because we have tentatively scheduled the April 14th public hearing at the Randallstown Community Center. But, you know, if that does not work out, we can move that. If you all decide that, you know, you want to have all the hearings here so you can have virtual capability, as you can see, we have that. That's a consideration too. I'm not saying you should do that or shouldn't, but that's just something to think about if you look at these maps in a more county-wide way rather than this side and that side.
So then I concur. 2 to 3 weeks I can agree with.
Same here.
Okay.
So sounding like we're okay with 3 weeks, did we want to talk about, Chair Rockel, the potential of scheduling a virtual all-county public hearing at the conclusion of those 2 weeks to present the draft map?
Yes, my opinion on that subject, Lisa, would be the first meeting we have should be presentation of the map virtually, followed by in-person meetings, both for the west side and the east side.
I concur with that personally. Would love to hear from the other commissioners as well. Simply because we had a central meeting, right, which was tailored to those living in the central part of Baltimore County. And, you know, after this draft map, would love the opportunity to travel to the east side and the west side of the county to hear from those that prefer to engage with us in person as well. So yeah, but would love to hear the thoughts of the other commissioners as well.
I also agree. I think that virtually should be, we want to provide all access to everyone first initial drop of the map. I think that presenting the map in a space where the totality of everything can be right there, so it's transparent. That is something that our constituents really focused on and had a real passion for. So we want to make sure that is the case. Also, I do agree that we need to then go to both the west side and the east side, because these are going to be impacted communities, and we want to hear directly from the people who live there. So I also agree.
I agree, Eric, with the virtual first and then the two community.
I agree with that too, because then it would give us a product when we go out to the east side, west side, not just say, hey, give us your thoughts. They would have something to comment on, and we can come back and work on it if we needed to. So I concur.
Okay.
If I may, I just will request and move that when we do those in person, that it's going to be ADA required compliant, so everyone can come, and even if they can't, they still have the opportunity, and so it's ensured that we are not preventing them from sharing their thoughts.
Yeah, I would hope wherever we meet, there would be compliance with the ADA.
Almost certainly there will be, because the places that we have access to use are county buildings or, you know, library buildings, which are all mandated to be ADA compliant anyway.
Okay, that being said, we need to look at the April calendar. Now, I think it's fair to say after the discussion we've just had that the Perry Hall meeting will be put off. And we've got to figure out with our collective schedules what dates are available for us to meet in April, keeping in mind that this is probably going to be the most intensive month of work that we'll do, at least heretofore, because we've got to come up with mapping products.
And Mr. Chairman, if things go the way we're hoping they will go, you should be able to have the week of March 24th, then the week of March 31st into that first week of April, and then the entire second week of April, April the 7th, for mapping. Now, whether that gives you enough time for the 14th, April 14th, may or may not be, but because of I think your recommendation to have the first or the next public hearing virtually, you may wish to consider postponing that April 14th hearing at Randallstown in lieu of the virtual countywide public hearing. And if you want to stick with that week, maybe either do it later that week, say the 16th or 17th, or even perhaps the following week, the 21st.
Right.
So just something to talk about.
Well, let's start with the first week of April. I'm of the mind that I'd like for us to meet as a commission on Wednesday, the 2nd of April, in lieu of the meeting at Perry Hall.
Would
Second
anybody
works for
mind
me.
moving that to the 3rd? I have a conflict. I won't be able to be here on the 2nd.
No, I have no objection to moving it.
Yeah, I also have a conflict on second right now.
Yeah, well,
If we need to make it there, then I will.
yeah, we want to try to work with everybody's schedules.
Third would be good for me.
The 3rd works for me.
I'm okay with the 3rd.
Thursday, April the 3rd, 5:30 PM.
Mm-hmm.
If I may, can we move it to 6 o'clock on that day?
Move it till 6?
Yeah, start at 6 or maybe 5:45.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you,
have that.
Cordell. It is, it has been a struggle trying, for those that have, for those of us that are still, working and commuting, the 5:30 meetings have been tough.
So 6 PM, Mr. Chairman?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. So Thursday, April 3rd, 6 PM will be a commission meeting. And then that, so far you don't have anything the week of the 7th of April.
Yeah, I'd propose that we meet on April 8th. How's that work with everyone's schedules?
I have a conflict for that. I have a few conflicts that week, the 7th through the 11th.
Okay. How about the 9th?
The 9th works for me.
Good for me.
Works for me also.
Okay, we'll meet on the 9th.
And then, Mr. Chairman, and members, as to the public hearing tentatively scheduled for April 14th, any discussion?
I personally think we ought to move that till the next week if we can get the community center.
I mean, I think that if we can, if we can get together with some type of working session prior to that, we may be able to continue to keep the 14th, but that's just my record. Only if we can get some type of working session going in time.
I just wanted to point out, I've already looked at availability at Randallstown Community Center, so I just wanted to give you an insight. For the month of April, we already locked in the 14th. Of course, we can cancel that. But the only other available dates that they have are the 10th, the 11th, the 18th, and the 25th. So if you do postpone it, I just wanted you to be aware, those are the only 4 other dates that are available. 3 of them are Fridays, 1 is a Thursday, the 10th. So just to to keep you informed. That's not swaying you either way. I just wanted to let you know those are the other available dates in April, according to Randallstown Community Center. The 10th, the 11th, the 18th, and the 25th.
Just a forewarning, I absolutely cannot do the 10th.
Well, and Mr. Chairman and members, I think there was discussion of having the next public hearing be the virtual one to make it more of like a county-wide hearing based on the maps that are, so that would in a sense make it easier to schedule potentially, at least in terms of people actually having to physically be here or somewhere else. But just something to think about if that week of the 14th or the 21st is what you would like to do. You know, there are there are options for those weeks, the days within those weeks.
If I can hop in, just for the sake of time, because we're bumping this work back now, and to give us 3 weeks to play around with the maps and draw the draft map, that puts us, we could say we have that work wrapped up on April 11th, right? That would give us about 3 weeks, if I'm doing my math right, to do that work. Maybe we should try to hold a virtual countywide meeting in the week of the 14th. So then we're not losing another week. Because we do still need to, based on our conversations today, it sounds like we're interested in doing 2 more in-person public hearings across the county as well. So we don't lose another week. It might be a good idea to schedule that countywide meeting in the week of the 14th. So I would propose that we stay consistent with our Wednesdays, and would it be possible to hold that virtual countywide meeting on the 16th?
Why not the 14th? Why are you going to the 16th?
Could be the 14th. I was just throwing out there to keep it consistent. It sounded like we were doing a meeting on April 2nd, April 9th. Was just trying to keep it consistent with the 16th, but if we wanted to do it on the 14th, that's fine as well. We can also give the staff time, if we think about it, if we as a commission wrap up the work that we're going to be doing on the draft maps, if we give ourselves a deadline of the 11th, freeing up the 14th and the 15th could give the staff the time that they need to put the map out and give the public time to review the map prior to the public hearing, because we do need to consider that as well. We won't get very good feedback if the public hasn't had time to review the draft maps that we pull together. So that could be another consideration of holding the meeting on the 16th, or at least something that we want to consider before we schedule the public countywide hearing.
Okay, I think I'm a little confused with the dates then. So if the March 24th and 31st are mapping weeks potentially, and we said April 3rd that we would meet as a commission, then we're going to come back on April 9th again as a commission. So I'm just trying to understand why we need to add more days in between. And I could just be thinking wrong. So that's it.
Hopefully, after April 9th, we'll have a tentative map product that will be ready to disseminate to the public. Then the question becomes, how many days is it appropriate for that to be up for to digest the map before we schedule the virtual hearing?
What was the date? Maybe that's what I'm missing, the tentative date to share the draft map with the public.
So, Mr. Chairman, so we have March 19th as a commission meeting, and that's the date that we're going to have training on the Voting Rights Act. We have the gentleman from the Brennan Center for Justice who will be helping us provide that training. Right. So that'll be sort of the traditional commission meeting format that we've had. And then the 25th meeting, I would think that might be a little bit up in the air, because we had hoped by that meeting we would have a good deal of mapping done and be doing mapping in anticipation of the April 2nd public hearing, but that's obviously no longer the case. Right. So that's a meeting date that, believe me, I'm not trying to tell you not to meet, but that might be a meeting date where you might not get as much bang for the buck as you might have otherwise. So I think the 19th, the March 19th meeting is very important, and you should keep that. Perhaps the 25th is something that you might want to discuss. And would, as the staff, I would concur with Ms. Belcastro that giving us a little time and the public to get the maps together, perhaps on the 14th and 15th, that is if you go right up to the 11th, would be helpful. It's not about us, but it certainly would help us get everything together in anticipation of perhaps the 16th or whatever date you all decide.
But what happened to that 18th? Because I have down here the training for the 18th and 19th. And it sounds like you're skipping the 18th altogether now.
No, that's not our intent. We just wanted, when I initially threw that out there, I was just trying to start the conversation if that would work, if there was availability for members to come on the 18th and 19th for training and onboarding, that would of course be helpful. So if that's, but that might be a conversation that we need to have with each of you individually.
Okay, well,
Rob, if we needed to do trainings on the 20th, you know, that the day after that meeting, we could do that? Okay, so, you know, these trainings are meant to be individualized, or individualized if you, or if you want to do kind of a pairing, no more than two. That way we can, you know, answer as many questions and do interactive training. So, I mean, I think three days, 3 full days, 18th, 19th, or 20th. Hopefully all 7 of you can find time either during the day or if you need in the evening during those 3 days. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
So we'll send an email out and ask you what day would work best for you, if possible during the day, but if not, you know.
all right.
Okay, so going back to the virtual hearing, again, if we assume sometime between April 9th and April 11th, we've got a tentative product, then it seems to me that the April 16th date would be a good date for the virtual meeting countywide.
I concur.
Eric, I'm good with the 16th also.
Okay. Any objections to that?
No objections.
We'll make the April 16th date the virtual hearing with the map product.
Is it okay, just as a housekeeping, to then take off the April 14th public hearing date at the Randallstown Community Center?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, can I weigh in on something? Can we just quickly go over the meeting dates that we're going to have within those 3 weeks that we're working on the map? I know we have the 19th. Is there anything else? Can you remind me of what else we're doing in between the 19th and the public hearing?
You got the 18th, 19th, and 20th.
Well, that's for training.
The 18th,
But
19th.
commission coming together. Are we going to be meeting again in between the 19th and the 16th?
Between the 19th and the when, Lisa?
The 19th of March and the public hearing on the 16th. So I'm trying to figure out if we're going to meet again as a commission prior to releasing the draft map.
Yes, a couple times.
Yeah.
Can you remind me of those dates?
Yeah, I'm assuming we're going to keep our March 25th commission meeting date, which we'd already agreed to. Then we would have a meeting date of April 3rd at 6 p.m. And we'd have one the following week, April 9th, again at 6 p.m.
Thank you. We talked about a couple of dates, so I just wanted to make sure I had the right ones. Thank you.
And Eric, for everyone that's Lisa and Cordell and stuff, the 25th March, can we make that at 6 p.m. also? Start having all the meetings starting at 6 p.m.?
So I just want to make a note, if we're going to change the meetings to 6 p.m., I am probably not going to physically be able to be present, depending on my children's evening schedule.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay, so we got the virtual meeting on the 16th. Do we want to have a meeting the following week, which is the 21st? Yeah. No, the week of the 21st, not the day, the 21st.
So would love to hear the thoughts of everyone else, but I'm personally feeling a little hesitant about scheduling meetings too far out. We've had to make a ton of changes already as a commission. I feel like every meeting we're coming back to the table with changes to the calendar and schedule, just because this is fluid and it's changing. We're getting new information. I'm wondering if it makes sense we've got a lot here on our plate that's coming up in the next month. If it makes sense to pause, focus on the task at hand, and when things aren't as opaque as they are right now, as things start to come together, schedule out the remainder of our meetings.
I agree with you, Lisa. We're actually 6 weeks out right now scheduling meetings. So
Okay.
I think maybe a halt right this moment.
And maybe as we get closer to the 16th, the staff can check on Randallstown and Perry Hall for May.
Yes, sir, we will do that.
Okay. Okay, so we've got the calendar set for the near time dates. Do we have any more discussion on any matters that we want to bring up tonight?
Adam, I request that your information that was passed out tonight at the meeting by me not being there, could you keep that for me? I will be picking it up when I come in.
Absolutely. I've got, we've got the place set for you. I'll just keep it in my office and next time I see you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no more discussion, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, thank everyone. Good night.